Hello, good afternoon, and thank you for joining our Career Connection webinar. I'm going to give it a few seconds for everyone to join on, so we'll just wait here tightly before we get started. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining our Career Connection webinar. My name is Neverly Sainville. I'll be your host for today. We're excited to have Sherry Correa, who will be presenting Women in Government. A recording along with today's presentation will be made available to everyone who registered for today's session. Now, because this is a webinar, all lines are muted. You can ask questions using the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. As we move through the presentation, feel free to type any questions that you might have in the Q&A box. We'll reserve the last 10 minutes at the end of the session to answer any questions that you might have. So again, our speaker today is Sherry Correa with Correa Consulting LLC. Then we'll move to our Q&A. If everyone could stay on after for an additional minute just to complete a brief survey that will pop up on your screen, we'll greatly appreciate it. Feedback provided is important as we use the survey to help us with future webinars and programming. Before I turn it over, I want to take a few moments to talk a little bit about the Women's Resource Center. The Women's Resource Center has been empowering women in Manatee and Sarasota counties since 1979. We have 3 locations across both counties, one in Bradenton, one in Sarasota, as well as in Venice. We serve over 9,000 clients yearly and deliver over 7,000 hours programmatic. Our main goal at the Women's Resource Center is to engage, educate, and enrich and empower women of all generations, as we are a place where women can call when they're not sure where to turn to for help. To do so, we offer our clients resource advising, mental health counseling, group and educational programs, career services, educational workshops, programs, and scholarships, as well as legal and financial consultation and education, all of which are offered at little to no cost to our clients. Since this is a webinar about careers, I'll take a little bit of time to talk about our career services. Our career coaching program offers individual assistance in prepping for success in a job search. This includes career discovery, resume preparation, interviewing skills, networking techniques, and so much more. We also offer a digital navigating program. This is a one-on-one computer tutoring session, including help with computer basics, Microsoft Office applications, as well as helping navigating job sites and uploading resumes. In addition, we have 3 career closets, one in each location, offering free clothing and accessories for women who have attended a new job interview or who just need to secure a job or need work attire. Our career closet also serves women who may need clothing for any particular reason. So again, we do want to hear from you. So please feel free to use your Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. As a reminder, our career connections are recorded, so you can watch the replay in case you missed anything. We'll also send the replay via email within 48 hours to everyone who registered and include all the materials that were covered in today's presentation. As I mentioned, at the end of the webinar, if you would stay on for an additional minute, there will be a survey that appears on your screen. We ask you to please complete the survey so we can better understand how we can improve. Thank you so much for attending today's Career Connections, and I'll turn it over to Sherry.
Well, thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here today, and especially to be able to talk about women in government. And you're going to hear a little bit in depth about my history. It's really hard to talk about yourself and to brag about, and that's not really what this is about, but what the progression is about is to make sure that you understand that there are all levels of government employment and all places that you can begin, you can jump into and start. So as we move on to the next slide, I just want to mention that some things that we're going to cover today, as Neverly mentioned, we want to make sure you're involved in the Q&A box. So please feel free to ask questions. She's going to monitor those for me and make sure that we can answer all of those, especially when we get to the end. You're going to learn a little bit about local, state, and federal government positions and how you might start to explore those. You're also going to learn about local employment and how work can really be meaningful. And I think that's going to be one of my main messages today is, as you know, work just doesn't have to be just a job. It can be a meaningful job. And especially in local government, you have an opportunity to look across all of the different aspects of job availability. Also, though, as Neverly mentioned, the Women's Resource Center has a strong digital access presence where they're very much there to help you with digital navigation and other things that you need for entering the workforce. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why that's so important and why you should take advantage of that. And then also how to link back to the Women's Resource Campaign about elevating women's voices and how today's presentation relates to government employment. Anytime after the session, here's my contact information. It'll be shared with you. You can always feel free to reach out to me. I'm always very excited to be able to help with information about how people can access different employment opportunities in local, state, and federal jobs. So next, let's go on and talk a little bit about, in the next slide, about why these things are important. So we want to start off with poll question. And the question has three parts to it. We want to know, have you ever worked for a government entity? Then if you have, are you still employed with the government entity? And if you're not, have you ever considered working for a government entity? So let's take a few minutes and Neverly will manage that poll and we'll see the results. All right. So the results we have so far, and it's okay if you weren't able to answer or you're just coming on. This is going to be really helpful for how we focus on this. So have you ever worked for a government entity? We've got about 32% of you that have, but 68% of you that have not. So that's why this is important today. And then if yes, are you still employed? And then you can see that goes down to about 12% of still employed. And also, if you look at if no, you've never worked for a government entity, and that's a big number of 78%. So this works out really well. I'm going to try to give you a hands-on approach to how you can proceed. So as we move to the next slide, I wanted to share with you those important things about digital access and technology. And again, this is becoming more of a necessity than it is something that you just have available. So today we're sending this message across this webinar and we're talking about important aspects of government employment, and you're going to get a lot of resources and information. But if you aren't able to stay connected, if you don't have affordable and reliable connectivity and speed, it can definitely be a problem for maybe some of your options in the future. And we want you to know about skills training and support and how the Women's Resource Center can help you with that on building your skills. And that's more important than ever these days. So your digital navigator team is available there through Women's Resource, and that's a really great thing to have. So take advantage of it. Don't be afraid to reach out to them. As we move along to the next slide, we want to also grab another poll question that's going to help me know where to focus. First being, did you know that Manatee County government has how many different departments that you might be able to pick from? Also Sarasota. And then did you know that those are the different options? So there's three questions here. Let's go ahead in this poll question and give you just a little bit of time to answer and try to give me some idea of how much you know about your local county governments and cities. Okay. All right. Let's talk about how many Manatee County departments there are that you can choose from. There you go. It's 14. So this is why today I'm going to talk about meaningful work. You got 14 different ways to go. For Sarasota County, there are 20 plus departments. And then for your city governments, they normally average about 10 different departments. Now, why is that important today? Because it tells you the many opportunities you have to get into government employment. And then if you see those numbers, it also should be significant on how you have an opportunity to advance over time. So that's really important. So thank you. Let's move on. The reason I ask you that question is because I want to talk to you just a little bit today about the progression of employment. And I'm going to use myself as an example. So you go all the way to the bottom of this list. When I first started my government employment, I was a brand new resident of Manatee County. This is quite a long time ago, so don't be afraid for hearing that the longevity of this particular example is 30 plus years. But I'm going to explain why. There's a great reason for that. And that leads back to the meaningful work that you might be able to find in your local governments, wherever you're located. So when I started out, I knew no one in Manatee County. I came to this area with my husband for an employment opportunity he had with Tropicana Products. And I started immediately looking for employment. I started a very low-level assistant human services contract manager position with Manatee County. And from that, over time, it progressed. As I started to learn more about the role that I had and learn more skills, I was elevated to a human services contract manager. Then I had a big opportunity to apply for the Children's Services Coordinator for a new tax that had been passed by the voters, the Children's Services tax. And at the time, it was a brand new opportunity and only passed by 1% in the community. And so it was a very exciting opportunity for working on programs and grants that are for abused, neglected, abandoned, and at-risk children. Now, one of the things I want to mention here is for this group, while I have a higher level education beyond being a high school graduate, I do not have a formal degree. I went to school. I have 3 years completed of college. And in that 4th year, there was a family issue and I was not able to finish. So for me, I did start in this area. I started at sort of the lowest level, but as I gained experience and I gained more skill set, I was able to move up in the range of what I was working with the county. And you're going to see I moved up a few more times. So from the Children's Services Coordinator position, about 6 years later, the Human Services Division Manager position became available. And so I applied for that. And then I became in charge of all of the human services activities in that department. Just after that, about 4 years, the Department Director of Neighborhood Services, that was a brand new department created by the county administrator. And I was asked to create that department and lead the operations of that department. Very exciting, probably never could have happened if I didn't have all of that skill set that I learned in those 4 positions below, as you can see it. From that, years later, there was an opening for a deputy county administrator, and I had gained some more skill in management with the department director, became that. And then the last position that I held with Manatee County, I'm very proud of, and it was as the county administrator for Manatee County government. And somewhat thinking that that might be unheard of where, you know, I started out, but I want to mention that through collaboration and learning skills, getting additional training, and being involved in an organization for over 30 years allowed me to gain that skill and knowledge that I was able to lead the county for several years. I separated from the county back in 2021, and I was really excited to be able to start my own consulting business at that time. Never something I thought I would be doing, but it's been very successful and very meaningful. So while it's hard to talk about yourself, I wanted to use that as an example so that as we work through today, you can see you can start at many different levels in local government. So let's move away from me and move on to some of the other information. So here in this presentation, you'll be receiving links to various of the 4 different areas that I mentioned. Manatee County government, which is an area that through those links, you can see the various things that are available. And throughout what I'm talking about, you want to make sure that you're looking for the human resources departments in each one of these areas. But also in Sarasota County government, they have a great website that gives you list of jobs that are available. State of Florida is the same way by looking at myflorida.com, and then also through federal government jobs, which by the way, are actually very rewarding as well. So as you go and you look on these links, it was going to be really kind of messy for me to put them all on here. So what I decided to do was give you an example. And this example is a example that is currently posted and available on Manatee County government's website. Now, I'm going to talk you through this particular one because each one of those website links that are listed in the prior slide have a similar way of accessing employment, and especially government employment. And there's a lot of words on this, but they are meaningful, and I want to basically break this down for you. So this example is an example of a meter services technician. You can see that it's right now, it shows your hourly wage range right there, $17.06 to $23.52. Now, and this is an example of a base $38,000 job. But what I'm going to show you and why I'm so excited that you may be interested in government positions, because there are many available right now with all of the growth happening in our region, especially in Manatee and Sarasota County. There are pages and pages of job openings available. And that's not because people don't want to work for the county. It's mainly because the growth has been so big and there's so much more to do. Additionally, not every job is for everyone. There are some positions that require a high level of education, maybe a certification or a specific degree, but there are many jobs that really require a high school education or a GED. And those jobs, I want to emphasize, are great places to start as well. So you can see that example, 38,000. And when I say total compensation later in the slide, you're going to see what that means. But a $38,000 job at Manatee County government equates to a benefit for an employee of just under $52,000 a year. And you're going to see why I think one of the great things about government employment is how the government folks really do care about their employees and what are available. So this is a full-time position, happens to be advertised for the utilities department. Always remember there's an opening and a closing date, meaning you got to get your application in before midnight on September 4th, 2024 for this position, but there are many different opportunities. And as we look at the remainder of this slide, it gives you the location of where the home base is, but by virtue of the title of this position, you can imagine that you are out and about, and this is a very mobile type position. These are hours that are interesting because this is a little bit different than what some other positions would be. So 7 a.m. to 3:30. And this classification lists the types of things that work and what your working conditions are. So as we move on to look at more of this, you can see the job description lays out all of the things that you need to know that are going to be important. So that you're going to be able to learn the geography, the streets, the locations, because you'll be driving around the community. So if you're somebody that's really been familiar with your community, and this type of position is in just about every county because this is related to your utility system, your water, your sewer, etc. So this is an example that's very helpful. You got to be able to read those meters. You got to determine if things are not working right. So if someone's meter number had been consistently a certain number, and you're stopping there and it's 4 times that number, you'll want to be able to say there may be a leak or damage. So you can save the citizens the trouble of getting that bill that's 3 times higher than what they've normally had, and also saves a lot of time. So as you look through these essential functions, you see other things like communicating clearly and effectively, both speaking and in writing. Those are skills that we all need to have, and those are things that the Women's Resource Center can help you with too, when you're really trying to talk about why you'd be the best fit for a job like this. Also, there's other things about the different locations. And I think you might have seen that you also might be on standby for other opportunities. And so sometimes positions like these have standby to be called out to do other things, or overtime as well. So just a few things on the job description. As we move on to look at the next slide, I want to focus on minimum qualifications. So high school diploma or equivalency, a certificate of competency. So there you go. This is where this one begins. Now, keep in mind that a position like this, starting out as the meter services technician, has higher level positions. So in the example I gave with myself moving up, this is the type of position that over time has the ability for people to move up in an organization, especially in a large department like the utilities department. You do need to have a valid driver's license. It's very important in this one. There are some other things that the actual department will offer you. So even if you don't have all of these things that are listed, like customer service communications, basic skills training, all of these things listed under here are going to help to be provided, but you need to come in with those basic skills. And again, I'd go back and say that the Women's Resource Center is a great place for you to identify your competency in these particular things. All right, and then more things about skills and abilities. They do talk to you about the physicality of a position, whether you're going to be sitting, you're going to be standing, kneeling, squatting, walking, those kinds of things. And in this particular example, you are moving around a lot, which I think is kind of neat, because you don't just sit in one place. You're out in the community, you're driving around, you're stopping in different neighborhoods, you're seeing the citizens, and you're also a good ambassador for your local government. All right, as we move along, then this is what I really wanted to emphasize for you. So behind every one of these government positions, local, state, and federal, there are benefits. And this is really important for you to understand how the government really assesses the importance of you being one of their employees. Now, these are actually the Manatee County government benefits right now, as of today. So if you take a position, you're offered a position, you take it, you immediately are in the 5 years of service or less, and you are eligible for vacation hours. And as you can see, it's pretty significant for being, let's say you're there for just 1 year, but you have 16 days potentially of vacation leave that you earned. So you have an opportunity to do things, go to doctor's appointments, go to your child's school for the day when they are having parents come to school day. You can take a few hours. All of that can be scheduled in advance with approval from your supervisor. You can see the longer you stay within this particular local government, the higher level of benefits for this particular category, vacation, are offered. So you can see 6 to 10 years there is almost 20 days. And if you're there 11 years or more, almost 23 days. So that's the value of somewhat of why these things are important. There are some maximums that each government places on employees, and that's just so you do take some time off every once in a while instead of just continuing to work, because there is a value in making sure that you have a chance to recharge. There are some vacation awards that are offered. If you do not take sick leave in a 6-month period for this particular government, this is not in everyone, but here, then you'll earn some additional time. And then also to know that there are 12 paid holidays for this government, and they're listed here. So on all of these days, you're automatically off work and you're being paid. So if you just look at that portion of the benefit package there, and this is all based on your positive performance of your job and based on what you're doing every day and your ability to advance. So good things to know about this one. And there's more. So in the next slide, let's talk a little bit about what else is available. There is time for sick leave that you can earn, and there are limits on that. But as you see, when you combine vacation and sick time, you have a lot of opportunity for anything that might come up or happen to you. Certain positions with all counties that are in emergency management or at levels of risk have a little bit of a different and a more elevated amount of time they earn. But most positions earn the basic. And then also this sick leave is for family sick leave and certain eligible family members that might be ill that you have to take care of. And then what I really loved about Manatee County was, because if when I was earning a lot of sick time, but I'm not like a person who is frequently ill, I would end up with a lot of time. Well, there's a certain program where there's an opportunity for me to donate some of my sick time to another employee who may need it, who has a longer term illness or a family member. And so several times throughout my career, I was able to donate up to 80 hours to other people who might have needed that. So it's kind of a neat benefit. Again, that's one of Manatee County's benefits, and you may not find that in other places, but you may find other important benefits. And then just to mention some of the other things that you're going to see in most all local governments, and most likely in your state and federal too, is that leave for professional time when you're looking to advance your knowledge and obtain more training and education. Bereavement leave if you have a death in the family of a close family member. If you have military status, you have automatic leave where your position is protected. There are also suggestion awards here. There's a program in Manatee County where if you have an idea of a cost savings or a program that might better benefit the citizens, you're entitled to some additional time. And then one of the most important things I wanted to mention to everyone is the retirement program. Most of your local governments are part of the Florida retirement system, meaning that 3% of your earnings goes towards your retirement automatically while you earn it. So at a minimum, each time you're receiving a paycheck, 3% of that is going to your retirement. Your full benefits received can be after the 8 years. So once you've worked for 8 years, you would be entitled to receive that 3% or any additional percentage you may have placed in it. So just because there's 3% for the employee earnings that go in there doesn't mean you can't add an extra $5, $10 every paycheck, and you can see that add up. Also, to be vested for that, it's 8 years and or reaching 65 years of age, or that big number, 33 years of service. So it may seem like a long time, but I think the point I wanted to make is that there not only are you investing in your employment by doing a public service and meaningful work, you're also being rewarded through the retirement system and something you can look forward to in future years. There's a pension plan, there's an investment plan, and there's also a health insurance subsidy. So once you retire, you're still eligible for the quality health insurance program, and you get a little bit of money for it as a retiree. So you'll know that a lot of these things are very important, and as a full-time employee, immediately you're eligible for receiving them. Some of the really neat things that have happened in local government for benefits over the last 20 years are health insurance plans and how they have advanced and what a quality they are. And why is that? That's because in a local government, there are larger numbers. So just with Manatee County alone, there's upwards to over 2,000 employees in that one plan. So by having that many people in a plan, you have additional benefits, and it reduces the cost to the employee for providing health insurance. So with this Manatee County plan right now, which is really one of the top plans, you have a dental option, a vision option, your prescription plan, also an additional life insurance. So the county will provide a minimum life insurance benefit, but you can also add a little bit of money to receive an additional one. There are opportunities for long and short-term disability insurance if you become unable to work. And then there is an employee assistance program, which is really nice because over the time that you're working for the government, let's say you work for 8 years, and in year number 5, some things happen in your own personal life or your family's life, and you just need some additional help with counseling or to talk to someone. This LAMP program that the county has in Manatee, and most of your county governments, your city governments have a similar program. They've already set aside a local organization that you can access for, let's say, up to 5 visits to talk to someone. And it's really great. It gets you over some of the things that may happen in life that you wouldn't want to necessarily have to go out and pay for on your own. There are well-being benefits. For example, there's a gym right next to the main county building downtown, of which all county employees are members. And on your lunch hour, before, after work, on your days off, you can access that gym for your benefits. You also have an opportunity to talk to a pharmacist about any program, any prescriptions that you might have more interest in finding out more about, or they possibly can help reduce the cost by helping you find a generic brand that maybe your physician hasn't really been able to identify for you. So there's a lot of extra benefits. And then also a tuition reimbursement, meaning I can go forward and I could even get a certificate, I could get an associate's degree, I could get an undergraduate degree, and some portions of my cost for that would be reimbursed through tuition. So I want to go through all those. And then the last slide is going to kind of sum up for you the value. So when you go back and you think about me talking about this position being a $38,000 job, here are the things that then are impacted by that the county, that Manatee County provides. So your federal income tax, based on a 7.65%, that's what that equates to. There's your retirement distribution that they provide. They also help to provide your employee medical coverage. They pay for a certain percentage, and then you, as the employee, select the level of additional coverage that you want, and you'll end up having to pay a certain amount of that as well. There's also that benefits for insurance administration fee. That's for helping to manage all of your events that you're going to and the different providers you see. There's your life insurance benefit as well. And then for accidental death and dismemberment, there is that amount, and then long-term disability. So when you add all of that up, when I told you that the total compensation equated with this job was close to $52,000, that's how you find that number. And that's what the benefit is for the position. So a lot of people see that hourly wage or that annual salary, and they think, well, is that really important to me? I wish it was a lot higher. Well, you have an opportunity to start at a position like this and move up. But these other information here that we've provided is what your employer is providing to make sure that you're healthy and you're happy and that you have access to all types of benefits that you can. And you're going to find an individual package for each community. So if you're talking about Sarasota County, they have a benefits book that you can access online. Back where I provided you with that link, you can see that booklet, and then each one of those other, the state, the federal, you can see links to their benefits. So just wanted to go over this particular area so that you can see how that's all broken down. And at each level that you enter the government position, those numbers basically go up based on the amount of your annual salary. So, all right. That's kind of a long description of what can be done, but let's take another poll here. And there's some questions here. Now, after sort of hearing about some of this, are you interested in options, and do you feel like you would be interested in researching other jobs that are available? Maybe more now than you were. If you feel now that you know where to find them, I want to make sure that you know that it's very easily accessible. And then also, if you're unsure, would you reach out to either WRC or myself? So let's take a minute and respond here. Okay, so great. We've got some great responses here. 94% of you said yes, you would be interested now after hearing more about these jobs, that you'd be interested in doing more research about them. 100% said you feel you now know a little bit more and where to find them. So I'm happy about that. And then I got to move my screen up slightly to see that 88% of you said you're still a little unsure where to find them, but that you'd reach out to WRC. And again, I'm always available. I really love talking about how local government jobs can be so meaningful to people. So thank you for responding to the poll. All right, let's go talk about the next area and how we want to move along to the next slide. And I want to bring this back around to how the Women's Resource Center is working on elevating women's voices so that you can understand the power of your vote. And this is directly from Women's Resource. They've reviewed all of the statistics across the country, and many studies show that when women are involved in politics, and when I'm talking about being involved in that, that also means, in this case, that you're involved in government positions, that you are aware of what's happening, then there's a greater emphasis on the social issues. There is including healthcare, education, and family support, which can benefit all of society. So while we're on this slide, I just want to mention more about the meaningful work. So the positions that I began in and the ones that I know most about are all related to community services, children's services, human services. That's one of the departments of Manatee County. I chose to step into that arena because of an interest in the position that was advertised, and then found an opportunity to continue to grow and work on various issues. And so for me, that allowed the work that I was doing every day from a job to be very meaningful. We worked on indigent healthcare policy. We made sure that families were supported through different human services grants and different organizations. And actually, I had the opportunity to work on the homeless services, an actual overall report that was adopted by our county commission. That was back in 2006. And it was about the voices of people who were having difficulty finding housing. And you know, that's still an issue. So these are all important, empowering issues that while you may become employed with a local government or state or federal, you still have an opportunity then to help people find resources, to find their voice, to learn more about things, and you be surrounded by other people that are doing meaningful work. And I think it's super important to say that while you may not have a interest in the community or social services area like I did, you might have an interest in public safety. You might have an interest in animal services where you get an opportunity to work with all of the surrendered animals that are in these shelters that are our shelter in Manatee has gotten extremely better. And you may also in public safety be interested in work with the 911 call center where there's training to be a 911 respondent. Also, there is positions that are involved in emergency management that work with the community when there are storms like Hurricane Debbie that recently came through. There are different things there. There's the Public Works Department, which manages all of your roads and your bridges and the transportation. And there are all types of positions with them. We talked about utilities. There's also many other departments. And most of the time in each one of the local governments that you're going to be looking into, Sarasota, Manatee, DeSoto, Charlotte, any of those, and all across the state of Florida, you're going to find similar departments. However, some of the positions may be titled differently. There are a lot of IT positions coming available because of the advancement of the digital transformation of your governments and how things are reported, and many, many more. So I would encourage you to utilize those links that are available and make sure that you start to study them. When I was reviewing them yesterday, there were 4 pages of positions in Manatee County that are open positions. You kind of got to look at it pretty frequently. Don't be discouraged if you don't see one that is interesting to you today. Tomorrow, a new one might pop up, or next week. You just have to be mindful of the ending date, and you do need to know that you'll be required to complete an online application, which might also require you, obviously, to have your past history of employment. If you don't have a past history of employment, making sure you have your education, in opportunities. Think about other things you've done, potentially volunteer work that you've done, because all of those things have transferable skills in them. And also make sure that you've talked to different people that would serve as a reference for you so that they can bring out the very best in what you have to offer if you are considered for different jobs. Lastly, I'll say just one more thing about technology. And many times now you may be required to do an online interview, meaning you will be doing an interview based on answering some questions online, and that will be sent to a committee to review. So keep in mind that you will definitely want to talk to your WRC people about if that happens and you're going to be doing an online interview, so you can be sure how you respond to the questions, so that when you're sending your response in, the committee reviews it and selects you to move on to the next level. Sometimes those things are not necessarily anticipated about things that could be happening around you, or that things that could be gleaned from the responses that you provide. So those are just as important as in-person interviews as well. So I would like to thank you for that. We're going to move on now. And any questions, comments, reactions? I can see a few questions. I'm on my iPad, so I'm going to pull them up. The first question from Lori is, how does the Suggestion Awards program work? And in that particular instance, the way that works is if you identify possibly a cost savings or maybe a process time savings in the department that you work on, you literally have a format that you present your idea of how to save time or money, or possibly expand a program to reach more people. You submit that through the process. It goes to the Human Resources Department, and it's reviewed by a committee or the department that you're either representing, or the one that you think the suggestion could be best made in. And then they provide provide you with the potential response of, this is something we could do. Maybe we aren't able to do it at this time, but there may then be a monetary award provided to you. So that's for Lori's question. The next question, Glenda had a question about FRS contributions is 3%. Why does it show retirement at 10%? That is the amount that the 3% is the amount that the county, your entity is providing, and then the 10% potentially is how much you could also provide, or up to how you could provide it. So each person's retirement FRS contribution is a little different, and I just highlighted the minimum, which is if you didn't put any money of your own at all into your retirement. In this particular example, the local government, Manatee, is placing 3% in it for you. Next, there's a question, is there any department in Sarasota or Manatee County related to imports and exports or international relations? That is a great question. So each county has an economic development element or division in their county, and they may liaison with, in the example of Manatee, Port Manatee. So of course at Port Manatee, they're importing, they're exporting, and there are also a number of international relations with Port Manatee. So while you might be the Manatee County employee in the Economic Development Division, which, by the way, whoever submitted this, there's a position open right now in Manatee County. I saw it yesterday for the Economic Development Coordinator. You would be liaisoning with the Port Manatee director and their staff, and potentially other businesses in the community. The Economic Development Corporation of Manatee County and the Chamber of Commerce also do relationship building in import-export companies and international relations. But great question. Okay, the next one is, I have a bachelor's degree in international business, just graduated, so which department do you recommend? And that would be the one I just mentioned. And I believe right now that Manatee County position in economic development has moved around a little bit. So it's potentially in the Community and Veteran Services Department, or it might be in the Development Services Department. When you look on the website, it will show you exactly where it is. Next question, can you provide the links? Yes, Everly's going to provide you with those. And are there part-time jobs? There are part-time jobs. And you know what? A lot of those are great jobs as well. So as you look on all of that, you just want to make sure that you're looking for whether it'll list whether it's part-time or full-time, and then what requirements there might be. And I think that's a great way of getting started if you aren't sure about what you want to do. Especially, there are a lot of part-time jobs right now in our library divisions in both counties. I saw those, and those could be even weekends, evenings at different hours, and they're very meaningful jobs as well. Okay, Angela, hey there, how are you doing? And thank you for mentioning how we all work together, whether we have a degree or whether we start out with just background. So really like the opportunity to be able to start for telling people the different levels. Jessica, you're welcome. And if you do not see or find an exact job available, there might be several jobs that could be a good fit. Yes. Do you recommend applying for multiple jobs? I do. I recommend applying for as many jobs as you feel you may meet the minimum qualifications, or maybe you exceed them, whether that's more of a meaningful job or a way that you might enter into the government positions. Because remember what I said and the example that I gave, there was a lot of opportunity to move up into the government positions. And the fact that you have tuition reimbursement means that while you're working at, let's say it's a lower level job, you have an opportunity to be gaining more skills and move up in different areas. All right, and then let's take one more. Does Manatee or Sarasota County offer tuition? Yep, They do, they offer that tuition aid. It's different though. You want to make sure that you look at their actual benefits, and you can even check with your human resources departments, because I do want to mention um, human resources departments across governments, that are your county, your cities, your states, but primarily the local ones. They love to hear from you. They'll answer your questions. They have recruitment team members that are out there looking for candidates. And so if you want more specifics about a particular job or where you might best fit, feel free to reach out to those human resources departments and talk to one of their recruitment people. All right, Neverly, I think I'm going to turn it back over to you for any closing comments or anything else I missed. Okay, is there an annual? Oh, we got one more question. That's good. Yes. Lori's asking, is there an automatic annual cost of living increase? Not necessarily automatic. That's decided each year based on the amount of money that's available for the local government. So as you can imagine, each government's budget is derived from many different sources, but mainly through the general fund. And so each year, that's a process by which in Manatee County and Sarasota County, they're currently in the last stages of adopting their next year's budget. It depends on if there's money available based on the millage rate. And so this year in Manatee County, I see where their millage rate is growing from last year about 13.45%. So there is a little bit of extra money. However, that also in many cases has to be spread out over capital improvement projects and other programs. However, there's also the ability in many of these governments to be able to receive an annual increase based on your performance. So if your performance is meeting and exceeding the qualities and the assignments that you have in your job, many times those are rewarded through what's called maybe a pay for performance annual upgrade. If there are cost of living issues that are prevalent throughout the country, which we've seen, inflation is up. Sometimes the governments also are able to provide a cost of living or merit increase. So it really just depends. You have to watch that each year. This year, I see there's a little bit of that being offered to each position in both counties. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Thank you, everyone. Very excited to be able to talk about a part of my life that was very, very meaningful. And I think it could be for you too. And that's to really go out and look for the type of government position. And especially as a woman, you know, I was really entitled to be able to grow and gain more skills. And I think you can too. So back to you, Neverly, at Women's Resource Center, and thanks for this opportunity.
All right, well, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today on our Career Connection on Women in Government. And again, if you would just stay on for an additional minute after we close out the webinar, you will have a survey that appears on your screen. We really want to hear from you as far as feedback to see where we could improve. So thank you and have a wonderful day, everyone.